I'm using Intelliquilter to quilt this, and the design is ground cover. It's a beautiful quilt and a beautiful design. Isn't this a fun quilt? We noticed that we had needle flex issues from going over these large seams. There was some unsewing to do. When I turned on Intelliquilter, the first thing I had to do was go back and find the quilt. I'm so glad I saved it. That really made a difference in this situation. And I'm going to need to look at this quilt on the screen and locate a really good place to realign so I'll know exactly where the additional stitching needs to happen. I'm going to continue because I'm using that. You already have a work in progress. Do you want to replace it? Yesterday was a class and the work in progress is finished, so I'm going to say yes for replacing. We're going to erase it and we're going to reset the time. So here is the nice quilt that we worked on. I need to realign to something really close to where the quilting needs to be repaired. So I'm looking at the quilt, getting my bearings, and I can tell immediately that this area is where I need to be. I'm going to open the menu on the left and zoom in, make sure I'm accurate, and I'm going to choose the point on that leaf. Then I'm going to say continue and move the needle to that exact leaf on this quilt. I'm going to say, okay. I found the exact leaf on the quilt, and that's what I'm using to realign to. I need to sequence the area that needs to be quilted, so I'm going to touch Sew Quilt. Everything turns green, and that's okay because when I touch Sew Quilt, it's going to try to travel to the top of the quilt. I'm going to touch pause, restart, and then I'm going to bring it back down where I need to quilt the missing part. I'm going to say Sew Quilt, starts moving, I touch stop, and then I'm going to touch restart. When I am using restart, it allows me to move around the quilt and verify that I'm very, very good with my realigning and everything is matching perfectly. The point on that leaf is right where my needle is going to be stitching. So that helps me understand I do not have to be worried, I am in the right place. But I do want to start stitching. Again, I want to get a little closer to where I need to do the repair. This is fantastic, it's exactly what I wanted. All right, so I'm going to put the laser light that's attached to my APQS Lucy. It is shining exactly on the point. I'm going to say okay. It takes a single stitch. I realigned the quilt and I told Intelliquilter to begin stitching. Now I am looking at the continue that we always have to take care of our motor speed and the speed and details on our IQ. I'm going to touch continue. I'm looking over here at Lucy, turning off the stitch regulator, and I want to make sure that the stitches are exactly what they were when I quilted this the first time. Now if I start stitching, it's literally going to stitch over what was left in the quilt. So this helps me get realigned, but I do not plan on starting stitching here. I'm going to touch the back arrow. Do you want to save the current needle position? No, I don't need to. Now what I'm going to do is go in and add edit pattern. Back arrow, add edit pattern. I want to split the pattern. I'm going to zoom in now. Close the menu on the left, and I'm going to touch where the crosshair is. The crosshair is exactly where my needle is on the quilt. I'm going to touch that spot, and I'm going to say split. I just split this pantograph. so that I have a different option for how it stitches out. Now that it's split, I'm going to say finished, add edit pattern, modify pattern. I'm going to zoom in really closely. Now I want to modify this portion of the pantograph. I'm going to say continue. And on this screen, I have the option to change the start and the end. I'm going to have it start here, where I'm precisely lined up with the design, and have it travel out. If I don't change the start and end on this one, it will start outside of the quilt, come in, and then I will be trying to make it match up perfectly. This way, I am having it start, so it will match up perfectly. I'm going to say start and end. Now my start is here. It's going to travel and work its way to the outside of the quilt. This is the perfect way not to have to worry about matching everything as it stitches inward, because we are stitching from the inside to the outside. Does it matter what happens on the outside? Nope, because I'm going to adjust what I don't need. Or in this case, since I'm repairing a stitching, I will probably just stop the machine and let that be the finish. Yay, this is a great way to handle this. So I am finished on the screen. I'm going to say finished. I don't need to add edit pattern. I need to sew quilt. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in and choose this part. Wait, this is all I want to stitch. So I'm going to touch the back arrow. I'm going to go to sew quilt, erase whole sequence. That's a good thing to know. When you've set up something but you don't want it to be active, just go back and erase whole sequence. Do you want to erase the whole sequence? Yes, I do. Now I'm going to select the first pattern that I need to quilt. There it is. Let's zoom in to be sure I'm accurate. Exactly. It's going to start here, travel out, and exit the quilt. It's going to exit the quilt, and this is going to be beautiful. I'm going to say continue. I'm going to say sew quilt. It's going to take its first stitch. You hear that happening. I'm going to swipe under to bring up my bobbin. That looks fabulous. It couldn't be better. That is exactly how I wanted this to happen. I am not going to do locking stitches because my goal is for no one to know that I had to restart my stitching there. I'm gently holding the threads, and I'm going to say continue. I have this at my speed at 1.0, my details at 0.9. This is what I normally use. And we're going to say start. It just has a little bit to quilt. It's finished. The repair has been done. I have 2 tails to tie off on the interior of the quilt, and out here on the outside I could touch restart to free the machine, and I could do a little bit of locking stitches if I wanted to. Easy peasy. I'm loving the way this turned out. So when you have an oops, it's a great idea to know how easy it is to fix it. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful. If you did find the video helpful, give us a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe so you're notified every time I release a new video. I hope you have a wonderful quilting day. Bye-bye for now.